broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, AfterBuzzers, and welcome to the after show for the Real Housewives of Orange County.
Our finale.
The end.
Can't believe
Reunion Part 3 was episode 23. Wow.
2,323.
Wow.
More like it.
You know, I enjoy doing the show so much with you guys, so I'm kind of sad to see it go. So, you know.
Very much so. We're
God.
so sad.
Yeah.
And we've loved hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I always look at all the comments, and you guys tweet with us, and it's been a good show. So let's get to the one and only storyline that anybody is talking about at this point, and that is the Brooks Cancer storyline. And tonight, this episode delivered. Oh, let's introduce ourselves. I am your host, Grant Rutter. Sorry, we're doing this quickly tonight. I'm our host, Grant Rutter. Next to me,
I am Blake V, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Blake V Media.
And I am Christy Olsen, and you can find me at Christy Reports, and we're not going to lie. We went out and had a little bit of din-dins and wine before the show.
to celebrate.
It's a little late, and
celebrate.
we're getting rolling now.
Yeah.
And our brains are just so confused and disheveled. We're so sad.
Right,
It's the finale.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this was an emotionally kind of havoc-wreaking episode. It was
Completely.
It was wrapping it up with a big emotional bow.
Yes.
And we got a lot of admissions from Vicki and just a whole bunch of mind-blowing information.
Mm-hmm.
Can open, worms
Yes.
everywhere.
Well,
Worms exploding.
It started with Eddie's comment of the beginning of the season with it being BS that Brooks was going to get something was happening with
I had
Brooks.
forgotten about that.
Yeah, so that opened up kind of the conversation where it was like, okay, well now he made that comment because it was a known credibility issue that Brooks was just a pain in the ass. And then they talked about they related it to last season with the stripper that he apparently was dating, who we learned was a poker player waitress.
How dare Vicki?
That's
Well,
actually
yeah.
a porn star's day job.
Yeah.
Poker game waitress.
Let me just say, I will likely spend a lot of time tonight defending Vicki because I feel like that's where this episode's going. Just saying. But in that moment, what?
Right?
Why would you defend the position of whatever it is that your husband was, or boyfriend or whoever you were with was with in a questionable scenario? I don't know. I just
Right.
thought,
Well, and she seemed to kind of be done defending him at this point, finally.
Finally.
And that was kind of a last ditch, we know about the porn star, Vicki, let it go.
Well, then they talked about the Hawaii trip from previous seasons where she told Tamra that he was just getting diagnosed with cancer and that she couldn't get a straight answer out of him, which is the worst to put somebody through. They're calling up from, on a vacation and they're waiting to hear news. They're in your corner. They're on your team and you don't get an answer. It's terrible.
Completely terrible. And the way that she relayed the story was basically that he essentially orchestrated the whole delivery of the news and made her wait till she got into her car. Keep her hanging. And that's awful.
Who does that?
So awful.
I get that we need to kind of give both sides of the story with Brooks and everything.
Oh, I think we're past that.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, do we need to have the interview with him in New York? Because the guy is just lying through his teeth. It's a waste of time. Nothing he says has any credibility, and everyone on that couch knows it. Everybody on that set knows that his word has no worth to it.
You know what I think the threshold was? When Andy kind of succumbed to the suspicion. It was like once Andy, the person who had sat down with him and conducted this interview, sort of said that he wasn't buying it, I was like, okay. We weren't buying it from that interview either, but you were there, you sat across from him and looked him in the eye, and you weren't buying it either. All right, we're done.
Yeah, and it was interesting too because when they did bring him in for the whole interview and the questioning and everything, he was so fidgety. just like so visibly like uncomfortable and just like
Drinking that
twitching
water.
and like obsessively, and just his head movements, just everything was very uncomfortable and uneasy.
And he had an answer for everything.
He did.
And it wasn't, that's not always a good thing.
Right, that's not when you're telling
Yeah.
the truth, like, and someone's grilling you, you shouldn't have those calculated, what sounds like it was written by a lawyer type responses.
Could be, very well could be. I know, and it's hard. It's hard because even just for a brief moment, sorry guys, but even for a brief moment, like giving Brooks the benefit of the doubt, just saying like if truly he is telling the truth 100%, and all of these women and this whole show and Bravo and Andy and everyone is just against him and like setting him up for all of this awful craziness, I just feel like his delivery in all of these answers that he was being asked, by Andy, I feel like it would have been different. I feel like it would have been a little more sincere, less fidgety, a little more fact-driven. Like giving him the benefit of the doubt. I just feel like his time would have been used differently on air than it was if he were telling the truth, I think.
And let's just not forget, at some point during this whole melee, this whole argument, someone kind of said under their breath, and he also tells Ryan that he wants to beat her ass. This was a very underhanded, we rewound it a couple times, and I had to listen and hear this, like, these are still implications of things that he said that no one's even making a big deal out of anymore. His big lies, like his A+ big stuff that he did, because there's all these little things and we're questioning every word that he says. Like, let's not forget that this is really a proven bad guy on a lot of different levels, long before this cancer thing.
Yeah, I mean, going back, I made a list of all things that they went back and forth about. The two exes.
Pages.
Yeah, we've heard it all season, but the two exes that he lied to having cancer about, and they asked the questions, and the pancreatic cancer coming to be, and how that was something that Vicki was even thinking about leaving Dawn originally for when she found out that Brooks was diagnosed. She thought she didn't have enough time to be with him.
That's the juice here, is that we know that Vicki knew Brooks. We know that Dawn thinks there was something going on. We know she's borderline admitted to that. Like, and that's kind of something I want to hear a little more about.
Right. Well, Vicki said under her breath, she said, just so glad it's over. As they're like pulling everything out and Brianna's just going, Brianna's just talking. Then, Vicki just like, what do you say? Like at this point, what do you say? Then they talked about how he never actually saw an oncologist. Heather knows that for sure. She never saw the actual chemotherapy. The PET scan came to light. We saw that wasn't really it. Brianna worked in the Hoag Hospital radiology department. She saw those reports.
This is the point at which Vicki starts to use the word misspoke. Oh, I misspoke. I misspoke.
And even Brooks just kept
Big,
like
fat
reaming
lie.
Vicki. Yeah, like she misspeaks a lot. She misspeaks a lot. Well, first of all, that's a lot of accusation going on during his questioning. But also it was like, I don't know, sort of kind of interesting to see the whole thing play out in this questioning and really see Heather's take on this all, this whole moment. She was so mad. And Heather does not get mad very easily. Yeah. And she called the doctors that Vicki had seen with Brooks the non-collegists.
That was so cute.
Yeah.
The non-collegists.
That was so Bev Hills.
Completely Bev Hills. And like Heather truly is tied into this whole medical world via her husband Terry. So she of course was there to dispel any sort of rumors and straight up tell Vicki to her face, like, hey, this didn't happen. No.
Yeah.
I checked in with these doctors. They live down the street. I know them through Terry. Whatever the case may be, none of this happened.
Because the thing about Heather, and that we've seen season over season with her, is that she is a true friend. She does speak the truth. She stood up for Tamra when Vicki was talking about the children and the custody thing. Like, she is a legit friend. If she is coming into this and saying, you are lying, I have a problem with it now, we are done with this, we know to respect that.
Yeah, and I think the worst thing that Vicki could have done, unfortunately, was pulling Terry into this story.
Yeah.
How did she not know not to do that? Come on.
Truly, that whole fabrication.
Lie about Tamra and Eddie.
Yeah, or anybody else. Or a
They'll
complete
lie with you.
Yeah.
complete different doctor. I mean, she could have made up some vague lie about like, oh, I called my family physician and asked him, blah, 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 whatever.
Brooks was back home in the South when this happened.
Completely.
Like, come on.
Some sort of story, but she had to attach it to Terry and then tell people, knowing full well, that it wasn't the truth. And then, of course, she got got called out by Heather and everybody else because, of course, that's going to come full circle.
And admits that she was trying to get sympathy, which is what everyone has suspected this entire time. And I think we can kind of jump on that one comment and say, that was the entire catalyst for all of this.
Right. And I just wish that she came out from the beginning and said, look, I know the conversation we're going to have. Andy, I know the questions that are coming in. Here's where I currently stand. You know, I believe I want to believe that he has it, but my gut's telling me, and she did say this, my gut's telling me he doesn't. But like, come out with that from the beginning. Of course, it's not the best television, but I mean, she was just so like out of it. She was not the Vicki that we knew. She was so leveled just by everything, and she must have been dreading this day.
I mean,
I don't
that
blame
she took
her.
some sort of medication beforehand.
Yeah. Oh,
We
yeah.
talked about this a couple
She
weeks
admitted
ago.
it.
Andy was like, "Did you take a Xanax?" And I kind of feel like she was
Or 3.
She's just been a little blank this whole reunion.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
know, I mean, I don't know if this really would have anything to do with it or not, but maybe her taking those medications helped with her admission of these things. Because if she hadn't been sort of laid back in the way that she was, maybe she would have been so feisty and so fiery that her I don't know, apologies or kind of whatever her few moments of weakness were, maybe wouldn't really have come through when she was busy being feisty and defensive.
Yeah.
So this time she took these medications, she had a minute to chill and like reflect on what she was
Right.
saying. And so her, her admission to all of these things came through in a sincere sort of way. And that was huge of Vicki to finally say that. I mean, we've been wondering about this all season long.
What does she really believe?
Exactly. And so for her to finally say, even for just that portion of just fabricating the story about Brooks's IV situation, that was huge for her to finally say that wasn't true. I mean, she was cornered, but still, she admitted it.
And we did appreciate that admission, but she did still seem to kind of go back and forth. Like you're saying, this whole time she was a little wishy-washy, and it still seems like she doesn't want to cut this Brooks thing off entirely. She's still letting Brianna say stuff for her. She's still letting Tamra say things for her. Like, it feels like she's leaving that window open.
Yeah.
I mean, even Brianna admitted herself. She's like, I don't think you're strong enough to not allow him back in.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Yeah.
You guys agree?
I do, because she hasn't been thus far.
Right, exactly.
To really kick him to the curb or change anything. And I mean, and like I said, I do feel a tiny part in my heart that maybe she really just does truly love him, and maybe there's some wonderful times that they share together, and for some reason she does find like solace with him or enjoyment or whatever the case may be. She does love him or enjoy him for whatever reason. But the fact is now that his issues have now come to affect everybody else.
Yes.
And that's the hard part, is that they've come to affect Brianna. They've come to affect her relationships with her girlfriends. I mean, everybody has been affected now by his stories.
Her business, she says, has been affected.
I mean, everything. Understandably, because I mean, how can she be an effective person, let alone a business owner, when she's just so emotionally run down with all of this drama and all this mess?
Well, I mean, I want to know why she didn't use this platform, the final say, the reunion, part 3, to be able to really just say, put everything out there and to be able to confirm these things and really use the platform she has to really hurt Brooks in her own way.
I'm sure that in the way that we've seen him be able to manipulate this very strong woman, I'm sure he manipulated her up until the end.
That's what it sounds like.
He knew when this reunion was happening. He knew that he had done the sit down. Even reports that were happening around this time online were saying that he's still playing with her. He wouldn't tell her what he said in the interview. He wouldn't tell her if he threw her under the bus, if he made her look like the idiot, if he said that she was lying. Like, I think that he probably had her at his beck and call up until the second that she sat down on that couch. He was probably texting her, "What are you going to say? What do you think I said?
Well,
what
that
do you
was
want me
alluded
say?"
to in the episode, because Brianna was talking about how she saw like pages of text that he sent her the night before with all these things and these messages and saying you're nothing, and then he would switch the script and
I'm
flip
dating
the script.
already.
Yeah. So that, I mean, please, I don't know if I know you watched it. Did you watch that interview on E! Online that they did? The full interview was like an hour and 14 minutes.
No, I didn't watch the full one. Only the one that they aired 2 weeks ago or
show,
something, a condensed version of it.
Okay, yeah. Well, I watched the full version, and I'm telling you, I had to watch it in 3 different parts. It was just, there was so much going on. There was an answer for everything. It was very, very, it was exhausting to watch. It's exhausting to watch someone keep up a lie.
Yeah. Well, the biggest issue that I have with this whole scenario is I don't understand the manipulation. I do not understand how Vicki is allowing herself to be manipulated this way, and I don't understand what Brooks has on her to be making this scenario so painful and so ugly. Right? Like, why is she allowing it to come to this level? I mean, a lot is being affected. If she really was in control, she would at least have a way to have her relationship over here on the side and then maintain her business and her friendship and her TV show over here. She wouldn't allow the two to intercept like that. But she hasn't been able to separate the two, and that's what I don't understand. And it was sort of touched on in this finale episode where everyone was kind of saying, what does he have on you?
Scared of him.
Yes, you're scared of him. What's going on? What on earth would she be scared of? I'm having a really hard time understanding that.
Yes, and they made these allusions to like physical things that have happened before with them, and that obviously can't be it. He's in Florida, she's in the OC, she's Vicki Gunvalson, she's physically fine. There must be something else that he has on her, or even if he doesn't have anything on her, someone who has proven to be a master manipulator in the way that he has could make something up and make the whole world believe it.
But would we? I don't think we would.
But Vicki
thinks that we would.
Thinks that we would.
Yeah.
Like
So
if this guy is so great at what he does, and we think that he is, maybe I shouldn't be as surprised as I am that she is scared of him.
I mean, Vicki has anything to worry about because, like we were saying last week, like we're still riding for Vicki. Like,
We love Vicki.
For some
We love
reason,
her.
she's made a complete fool of herself this season. But I mean,
And every season, by the end of it, she looks like a jerk.
it's kind
She
of true.
really does.
And
But we
Yeah.
still love her.
Andy loves her. I mean,
Everyone
Andy,
loves
that's
her.
like
Andy was like
Hardcore
way
love
off her
affair.
butt this whole thing, and he wouldn't let the conversation go. He wouldn't let. Shannon had so much to say. I understand as a moderator, you have to keep things moving. I do get it. However, this is not a live show. This is not live to tape where there's no
you
one's
guys
gonna
are
cut
there
it.
for like 14 hours.
So it's like let the conversation play out, and it's not just an editing thing where they cut off the conversation. He's jumping in and being like defending her and then changing the subject. Like let it go. Like we know Shannon has something to say. This is it. Like if anything's gonna be put on the table at this point, now would be the time to put it out there. Let it play out. It was too much. It was like while it was one topic the whole time, which was cool, it's just. I just thought it was kind of rushed with things along the way.
Right, because we've invested the time as viewers, and we want to have this explored, and we want our answers.
Now's it.
But it didn't
We
feel
would
like
watch
Andy
24
was,
hours worth of footage.
Oh, yeah, but
Lord.
it didn't feel like Andy
I
was
don't
being
know.
To the bottom of
objective.
it. Yeah.
Like Andy wasn't being objective in a way that would get us the answers that we wanted.
Right. Yes. One moment that happened tonight was Meghan talking about her relationship, of course, with Leanne and how she was so emotionally upset. But she also mentioned that she came into this project believing that she was going to have an ally in cancer, that she was going to have Vicki there who really understood what it was like to have someone close to them suffering and having to go through chemotherapy and watching someone, dissipate on camera or in life. And she said, all you do is just yell at me and you treated me like crap and you treated me like garbage. And I mean, did we hear an apology from Vicki for that?
No, not at all. No, and I'm sure that Vicki doesn't feel that she owes Meghan one. I'm sure because Vicki's going to stick to this
Well,
storyline
Vicki's taking
that
the
she believed
angle.
it the whole time and that Meghan shouldn't have attacked her. And this is where we are reminded Meghan has been kind of raked over the coals too this entire season of her very adamant behavior about this cancer thing. And this is the moment where we are reminded why this was so important to her. Literally, this woman lost her stepchildren's mother amongst all of this craziness, reality TV drama that was calculated and that was fabricated. She literally lost a life in all of this. And I think that was so important to remind us at this point what Meghan's whole motivation was the entire season for doing what she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's completely true.
Yeah.
And I just think that, Vicki is still in a position of saying that she didn't know. She didn't know. And even to this day, she doesn't know. In her gut, she feels things, she has certain feelings, whatever. But bottom line, she was like along for the ride. She wasn't really in a position to be analyzing medical records or making decisions on behalf of Brooks. She was simply saying, he said this, so I believed it. So that's kind of her position, which,
isn't the smart girl position.
True. I mean, on one hand, you could believe it, and you could say, all right, fine, you're with someone, you're not married to them, but you're with them, and they say that they're sick and they're doing these things. Okay, fine. You would support them and you would believe it to a certain extent. Okay, fine. But then over on the other hand, it's like she dragged everybody into it, and she just berated everybody and just got so ugly with everybody about it that then it's like it crosses a line, and you would just think, well, if you weren't really sure, then why were you going to the bat so hard for something that you had any sort of question about?
Because she's
ruin everything over it.
Yeah, she's gotten out of things in the past by playing the victim at the end of it all.
Yeah.
And then winning everybody back. Right. And I think that's what she thought she was going to do this time.
And that's exactly what she admitted to this time, is she said that she just really wanted sympathy. She wanted compassion from everyone, and she wanted sympathy for this. But then it really kind of like draws the question, you know, if she did want sympathy, it's a natural human feeling. Like, sometimes people want sympathy, sometimes people want compassion. Fine. Vicki talks all the time about needing her love tank filled.
Yes.
She needs some compassion in her life. Fine. But, like, did it need to go down this way? Did Brooks need to have cancer? Like, if we were going to lie about some sort of health issue that Brooks had, perhaps it could have been something less gnarly or less ugly if proven to be untrue. I just feel like the approach was poor on everyone's behalf, and by everyone I mean Vicki and Brooks.
Listen, if you're gonna lie better next season, people. That's all we're saying.
I mean, truly, yeah, because it just was such a painful lie,
icky lie, right?
And was real. You know, I think Vicki probably went into it thinking, oh, we're just gonna have this little issue and then be over it.
It's gonna make everyone love you.
And then Meghan really threw like a wrench in the works by saying, hey,
by being real, and
exactly,
knowing someone who really has cancer and is really dying.
And really fighting for that, and then you know, trying to disprove Brooks and everything that he did.
I think Meghan sped up the conversation, because if Meghan wasn't on the canvas, I feel like the ladies would just be speculating and they'd be questioning, and then everything would just come to head at the reunion, and Vicki would have Brooks there and they'd present evidence and paperwork. But by her being there, she pushed it all forward, and that brought us to today. So Vicki should actually be thankful to all these girls. I mean, you know, she should be.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, granted, not everybody acted in the best way, but they all had her best interest for the most part. I mean, people could argue that maybe Meghan was just trying to prove herself right and not really had the best interest for Vicki's relationship and her well-being and her relationship with her daughter. But the other women, Shannon, who got no credit for anything she did, any type of compassion she had for Vicki, she gave Vicki that sympathy and that compassion that she wanted, and Vicki still threw it back in her face.
Yeah.
So, and she was furious. I don't blame her.
And I think that's why Heather was so mad. Heather is the kind of person who would send her husband to your boyfriend at 3 a.m. if he really had cancer and was really having an issue. And all these ladies felt taken advantage of, because they do kind of bow down to Vicki a little bit. And she is the OG, and she is the one who, let's face it, Tamara, Heather, I mean, all of them, if Vicki called them tomorrow and said, hey, let's do lunch, I'm Vicki Gunvalson, they would be gung-ho for it. You know what I mean? Like, they would have backed this woman up kind of no matter what, except for lying about cancer. Like, they just pushed it too far. They would have gone to bat for her for absolutely anything.
Yeah. I don't know.
And she needs to acknowledge that.
Right.
I know it's a heavy angle. And I think kind of final thoughts is that, you know, Vicki really is in... I know I say this every episode and probably everyone hates me for it, but truly, I feel like Vicki is in a tough position only because she's with this guy who she does love. I mean, truly, she loves him, because otherwise, why would you,
you know, hard.
Yeah, I mean, why would you stick up for this person after they, you know, did so many ugly things? But she really loves him, bottom line. And so the issue, I think, is that, you know, she's really trying to defend him and help him on one hand, but then on the other hand, she doesn't want to be proven wrong. Okay, she's a woman who wants to be in control. She wants to be in control in every aspect of her life, not only her business and her family and her friends, but also of her love life. And she's not. That is the only arena that is completely out of control. And so here her girlfriends and her family and everybody comes saying, oh no, you're wrong, this guy's bad for you, he's doing all these things. And even if he is, even if he is 100%, she doesn't want to have to say, "Oh, you guys are right. I'll dump him now because everybody proved me wrong." Like it's
I'm
the
Vicki
pride.
Gunvalson. I know what's right.
Yeah, totally. So it's like the pride of it that's really like getting the best of her, and I think that's the toughest spot is for her to have to like cave and say like, "All right, everyone's right." She just doesn't want to.
And this guy I left Dawn for. Yep. It's hard. Nail on the head, girl.
She's paying the price because everything. She's really having to reset her entire life. I mean, with calling up Brianna and saying, I'm on the floor, I'm just so, like, out of it, I'm so upset, and it's just, like...
Brianna saying,
she's in a tough
my mother
spot.
doesn't call me a effing B anymore?
Yeah.
Oh
that is so bad.
Oh, my God.
I know, and that's all
the
Brooks.
havoc that this man wreaked amongst mother and daughter?
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for Brianna to even look past that is big.
The fact that Brianna can sit there and stand up to her mom
big.
For her mom, even through all this, and kind of acknowledges that this guy snowed her mom after what Vicki has done to her, I mean, it just makes me love her even more.
Yeah.
We love her so much the way it is, and now we just love her even more.
Yeah, well, wow. Vicki did hand out a few apologies, though. She did.
She did.
Who received them?
Good question.
I don't remember.
I think Tamara received one.
Tamara, yeah. That might have been it. That's a lot.
Just the one to Tamara.
Yeah, well, I don't know what else to say.
I know, but she
except
did
that
end everything saying that, she ruined a lot with her friendships with the ladies, but she's really going to work hard at gaining back the trust and putting these relationships back to where they started, which I do believe. Like,
yeah, but she's pretty much just thrown everything in the girls' faces since then and posting pictures with other friends and being like, these are my real friends.
Yeah, those are my TV friends, not real friends. Like, yeah, I mean, she didn't reach out to Shannon, and like that would have been the moment for them to be like, okay, look, like, she really just treated that Shannon like dirt.
She really did.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She really did, and I have a little update on what Shannon has to say about
Okay,
that,
let's do it. Let's move to some news and gossip.
News and gossip.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Because we've been talking about it all season. Apparently, we're never going to get no cancer answers. No cancer answers.
Cancer answer.
But I do have a few answers for you and a couple updates. I know we were all shocked last week on this whole Girth Brooks story. So Brooks himself did answer to this, and he says, this is just a typical Brianna move. It's a he said, she said, where she's putting her mom in the middle and she's just pitting us against each other. He says that he categorically denies, which is, of course, the most believable phrase in the entire world when someone says they categorically deny saying this, and that he is also glad that he doesn't have to deal with this unnecessary drama anymore of Brianna telling such stories.
Okay.
So those are some famous last words from Brooks.
Last words, please.
Speaking of last words, yes, how about a little bit from Rhonda, Billy's girlfriend, who after a lot of heat from the press, we were kind of saying, did Vicki set her up for this? She gave her explanation as to that final fight that we saw in the last party, in the last scene of the show. And she says that she was just feeling like Vicki was being targeted when she left the room. She said the girls were really backstabbing Vicki. They were talking bad about her every time she left, and that Rhonda had just had enough. So she walked up to Shannon, and she said that no one told me what to say or what not to say. I just went and spoke honestly to Shannon. So there is Rhonda standing up for herself and declaring that was 100% Rhonda.
Well, if Vicki didn't tell her what to say, Brooks probably did.
Right?
Or even in passing. Did she really need to relay that information? And if it was to Shannon, it should have been to Shannon and not in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, Shannon herself is actually speaking out as well. We've talked a little bit about this exclusive online interview with Brooks, but Shannon did one as well. Not quite as long, but you guys can all check it out on eonline.com. And kind of one of the highlights from that is that she was asked about, forgiving her husband for being unfaithful versus forgiving Vicki for lying to her and comparing those two things. And she said, with my husband, they were both unfaithful and lied to me. But with my husband, I have something to really salvage there. Whereas with Vicki, we have no ties. I'm not going to put my effort into forgiving her. So kind of a very strong statement from Shannon. And you may have all read these reports that Tamra, Shannon, Meghan, and Heather have decided to refuse to shoot with Vicki. They're saying if Vicki is not ousted, they're all gone, and this was a report that they're using this as a power play. Now, Heather and Tamara have
know.
already answered to this. Heather has a brand new podcast on Podcast One. It will premiere at midnight tonight. She did her very first episode with Tamara and Shannon. And they said, you know what, ladies, we read this report. Let's talk about it. And Heather kind of goes on to say she denies that they ever had that conversation, but Tamara kind of says, well, wait, is that even a possibility? And they go on to discuss whether they could oust Vicki or...
man.
Yes. I assume ends up being a very contentious conversation. So make sure at midnight tonight, in a few hours, you will be able to hear from those ladies regarding all of this. And just kind of a final thought on that. Reportedly, Vicki has in her contract that she, and apparently is the only housewife to have this distinction.
The OG contract.
Her contract says that she has to either resign or quit to no longer be a part of the Real Housewives of Orange County. Yep, that she cannot be fired. So a lot of other reports saying, well, if the ladies aren't going to film with her, then it's going to be the Vicki show and a bunch of brand new ladies.
Yeah.
So we shall see what happens next season.
Boycotting shooting anything is ridiculous. It's going to shoot the whole show in the foot, and it's going to kill the franchise.
Right? And we know what's happening with New York right now.
Smart.
They're giving them day-to-day contracts.
Yo, that show,
in a really shady way.
That show needs a
So ladies,
don't get Grant.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Don't shoot it in the foot. What are the other things? Don't give horse in the mouth. Whatever you need to not do, don't do it. Because we want another season of this show.
Don't create your own rules.
Part of all of that is entertaining for us.
Right. Yes.
Don't deprive us of it.
Go film.
Let us see it.
Go film with her. Film all together. Film with each other. Film with other people.
Well, after a very long season, I think that there's really not much left to put on the table here. There'll be a lot, hopefully, in the new season. I want to see all the ladies return for the most part. I can't think of anyone I don't want to see.
No, and bring Katie into the mix.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Maybe,
if the divorce stuff is over and ready to be done, let's get her in there.
Are we wanting Brianna?
120%
it'd be smart.
Brianna.
It'd be smart to put her in. I think it would be smart. And it would give Vicki someone to rebuild, because Vicki's on her own island. Again, here we start another season.
She ain't got no friends right now.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, there's a lot that will play out in the press as well between now and the return of this show. And they're supposed to be starting production soon, I heard, in the fall. So who the hell knows? So season 11 could be in 6 months. Who knows? We shall find out. Well, you can get
We will be
more
eagerly
info.
awaiting.
Yes, you can get more info and perspective from us along the way on social media. Thank you for all of our loyal listeners and commenters. Ladies, where can we find you?
Well, this has been such a fun season. I have loved breaking it down with you guys and Allison and connecting with our fans. You know that I'm going to keep you posted on the casting news, all the red carpet interviews with these ladies. You can check it out at ChristyReports.com. And please also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Christy Reports.
And I have really enjoyed this whole entire season with you guys, too.
Yes.
And Allison, we miss you. Hope you're having a fun trip jet setting. I am Blake V. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Blake V Media. And thanks, Graham, for my beautiful birthday dress, bringing the tropics to this rainy day. Love you, Grammy. Oh, I love it.
You guys can find me over on Twitter at Grants__rants, and you can find both of these ladies guesting on my podcast, Grant's Rants Hollywood Talk. Blake's episode will be coming out in a little bit. For the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion, episode 24, 23. We did it.
It's been a fun season. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff. We would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later, OC!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.